Hey there everyone, Abhijit this side. In this video, we're going to start with a concept of networking. Uh, we'll understand the AWS VPC and route tables and subnets. We'll understand these fundamentals of AWS networking, and we'll dive into these things and understand these how these essential components work together to secure and manage our cloud application. So the prerequisite will be definitely you will be talking about AWS, how we are setting it in AWS. So you need a AWS basic account with some basic IAM policies that should be attached to your specific account. So yeah, so let's begin. So the introduction will be understanding the crucial concepts of VPCs and subnets and route tables. What are these? And understand how these can work. So after that, we'll understand the VPC, how it is into how IP addressing work using CIDR blocks, and appreciate the importance of creating isolated environments. We'll understand the subnets and their availability zone, like what are the difference between a private subnet and a public subnet, why we should be using between these two and which one is preferred in which scenarios, like what are route tables and internet gateways, why these internet gateways are needs to be required and why not we don't use it, or like we have NAT gateways also, so why we should be using in when scenario we have to go with the NAT gateways. So let's see. So what is an AWS VPC? So it is just it is basically a virtual private cloud on your private network, like within the AWS cloud. So it provides basically a secure isolated environment for your resource. So it is a cloud network that you create. Mainly AWS provides the default VPC whenever you actually like create a RDS or anything, any service on AWS. So you can use the default VPC the AWS provides, but if you want, then you can go for and create your own VPC and configure it based on your requirement. So each VPC is defined by our like CIDR block, which provides a range of IP addresses for your instance, databases and other resources. So these it gives a IP address and like it allocates you to a, like whenever you are like your thing is connecting to the internet, so you can like access it using that IP address. Isolated environment, as your VPC act as a barrier between AWS resources and the public internet. So with from that barrier, of that specific barrier, you are interacting with the public world, public internet. So public internet has a lot of, like everyone is on the internet, and if everybody can access your resources on your network, then definitely there will be security issues and security will be compromised. So for that purpose, most of the, like if whenever let's say we have a backend, we create our own VPC on it. So what are subnets then? Okay, so subnets are basically the divisions of your VPC CIDR blocks, allowing you to create smaller and more manageable network segments within your VPC. So in your VPC, you can create multiple subnets, and each subnets can be private and can be public. Okay, so public subnets can directly can interact with the internet, and it is like accessible by internet. You have to set up the internet things, and but that will be accessible. But if you are using a private subnet, that will be totally isolated, and it will be like let's say your resources, your, let's say RDS, let's say you have a database on a private subnet, and you have some resource, some functions, let's say you have a lambda function on a specific private subnet, or you have a EC2 instance on a private subnet. These subnets can interact within each other, like inside the private subnet only. But if you are accessing something like outside the subnet or outside your network, then there will be issues. Then you won't be able to access it like in private subnets, because the internet access is not allowed to the private, to the internet world, like directly. Availability zones are split into like multiple availability zones. So deploying resources across multiple availability zone enhances the availability and resilience of your application. Okay, so what are these route tables and internet gateway? So route tables act as traffic directors within your VPC. Like they determine how network traffic flows between different resources, like both internally as well as externally. Let's say you have a public subnet, so you can like enable internet access by routing traffic through the internet gateway. So what the subnets do, they can't directly interact with like outside world's internet, so they need some way for that. So that is where the internet gateway comes. So this allows your instance to communicate with the outside world. For the private subnet can't definitely that they can't go directly and use the internet gateway. For that we can configure the NAT gateway, which is optional, like definitely optional, because there are other ways. Like, since let's say if you want to interact or have some outside external APIs, or you are like calling some APIs inside your subnet, in that case you need to the internet access from your private subnet, so that your APIs or your functions can interact, or can use the internet to like let's say to make a HTTP request or something like that. So for that you need to configure the NAT gateway. So this provides a secure way for private instances to access the internet while keeping them hidden from the public. So the outside world won't be able to access your private subnet, like your resources, but you are able to access those things via the NAT gateway. So let's see how we can create a basic setup of creating a VPC and its subnets and like route tables. Even we can do see how we can attach an internet gateway. Okay, so let's go to my computer screen and see how we can do it. So here I have my dashboard of the AWS. So you can see that we have VPC, NAT gateways, everything here. So what I'll do, I'll go to my VPC and create. You can see here we have the default VPC. So I don't use default VPC. I will be going and create a VPC. So here, like, we can name our VPC. So see, you have two options to this. Like, you have the VPC only. Let's say you only want to create a single VPC. In that case, like, you have to manually go to the subnet section and create the subnets on that VPC. But what the AWS does, AWS provides us something special, like you can like VPC and more. So you can see, you can configure all these things here. How you are doing it, like, you can directly create a name as the name. Let's say my like the we can put the name as Abhijit VPC. Okay, this is my name, Abhijit VPC, and you can see the CIDR block. So this is the default one that the AWS provides. You can change it. Okay, so you can change this 10 to anything else, no problem in that. And so here you can see in from my VPC, all four subnets in just like four regions it has been created. So you can see that the private so it creates in one region there is a public subnet and there is a private subnet, and each subnet is connected with you can see each subnet is connected with a route table. So we have this and this is a public route table, and this route table enables the network connection through for that VPC, which is like this internet gateway. So this internet gateway is automatically created, so this can be created directly. Okay, so using this I'll be creating this like number of availability zone, let's say 1. I'll create only for 1, and I don't need so here you can configure the NAT gateway also. Let's say if you choose one is availability zone NAT. So NAT, you need to see if you have a public subnet, this is the public subnet, and you are connecting a NAT gateway to it. In that case, that will be chargeable. So choose the number of availability zone in which to create NAT gateways, and there note that there is a charge for each NAT gateway. So NAT gateway will be charged, so you can't so whenever you do this, definitely if you require to interact, your private subnets require to interact with the outside world or make some HTTP requests, use via the internet they are using. So in that case they need this, you definitely need this NAT gateway. For me it's not required, since I am just showing you up, and I can see like this is the public gateway, and let's say we create it. Okay, so create VPC. So you can see everything is getting created. So now you can see the VPC, view VPC, and this is the VPC that is being created, and you can see DNS resolution enabled. So this is the route table that is being associated. So currently it is not. Okay, I need to refresh it. So you can see this has been connected. This is the public route table and this is the private route table. I'll go to the my public route table. Here you can see this is the internet gateway that has been attached. Okay, so so everything will get set up automatically. You don't need to do much, but in case if you do it manually, then you have to create here. So let's see what are these. This is my VPC. Here my VPC is there. Okay, and you can see this is the subnet section. These are my subnets has been created. So I can go inside my subnet and see what are these and understand the route table, everything here from here. Okay, so after that we can go to the route tables we can associate like the subnet, like you can see subnet associations and everything here. Edge association is not required, so here you can configure, like here you can configure in the route table only. Let's say for the private, if you are like here only this thing has been there, but you can configure in case you are using a NAT gateway. You can put the NAT gateway here. Internet gateway you can manage from here. This has been created. So this was it. Like everything is just like as simple as that. You directly create the VPC and everything has been created. Okay, so let's see what what we does is, like, we created the VPC, we created the subnets, we could set up the route tables and attach the internet gateway. So security best practices, if we talk about, like, private subnets, definitely if you have a sensitive workload, let's say you have your backend and you do not want your backend to be exposed by to the internet, and you can create a whole architecture of it. Like you can set up like your RDS and everything, every database kind of stuffs, and all the secure stuffs inside the private subnets, ensure the sensitive data and the critical applications reside within the private subnets. Like that reduces the risk of unauthorized access from the internet. NAT gateway for secure access. So like if you want a secure access, utilize a NAT gateway for private instances to connect to the internet without exposing them directly to the public. This enhances security by limiting access to only authorized traffic. Like you can manage these things by using the security group and NACLs. You can create the security groups for that, and so that it will be easier. So this was it, guys, for this video. So key takeaways, you understand about how we can connect the VPC, subnets, route tables, internet gateway, what are NAT gateways, along with some specific like security practices. So definitely some other steps we can follow, like you can go and understand what are load balancers and how you can configure it. You can configure like the EC2 instances, like site to site VPN to connecting your on premises network to the AWS. So these things you can go through, and like the next step you can follow, and I'll be back with another video on some of the similar topics. So see you in my next video. Bye bye.